Samantha, a young woman who always craved adventure, decided that her weekend would be best spent at a newly opened science fiction-themed amusement park. This park, touted as the ultimate destination for sci-fi enthusiasts, was filled with thrilling rides, immersive 3D experiences, and life-sized alien statues that looked so real they could make your skin crawl. Samantha, being the curious soul she was, had heard about this place from friends and couldn't resist checking it out for herself. The park was bustling with people, families, and groups of friends, all eager to dive into the otherworldly experiences on offer. Samantha, however, preferred to explore alone. She enjoyed taking her time, absorbing the details, and imagining herself as the protagonist in some epic intergalactic tale. Her first stop was the Green Planet section, an area designed to look like a distant alien world, complete with extraterrestrial plants, oddly shaped rocks, and, of course, aliens. As she wandered through this strange landscape, Samantha noticed a particularly striking alien statue. This statue was more detailed than the others, with its greenish skin, elongated limbs, and those enormous soulful eyes. The way it was posed, standing with one arm slightly extended as if reaching out to her, made it seem almost alive. Samantha chuckled to herself, thinking about how realistic the park designers had made these figures. She couldn't resist the urge to take a selfie with this incredibly lifelike creation. With a grin, she pulled out her phone, positioning herself beside the statue. But as she raised her phone to snap the picture, something unexpected happened. The statue blinked. Samantha froze, her heart skipping a beat. Had she really just seen that? Before she could process what was happening, the statue turned its head and looked directly at her, a mischievous smile spreading across its face. Planning to take a picture without asking for permission, the alien spoke, its voice sounding both strange and oddly charming. Samantha stared in shock, unable to believe her eyes or her ears. The alien, who was supposed to be a lifeless statue, was not only moving but also talking to her. It was slightly taller than she was, with greenish skin that seemed to shimmer under the artificial lights of the park. Its long, pointed ears twitched ever so slightly as it continued to smile at her. But what really captivated Samantha were its eyes. Large, expressive, and filled with a kind of playful intelligence that made her feel like she was standing in the presence of something truly extraordinary. "Oh my God, are you real?" Samantha stammered, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Are you an actual alien?" The alien chuckled, a sound that was surprisingly human. "Of course I am," it replied, looking quite pleased with itself. "Name Zog, from the planet Blip Blop. We visit Earth all the time, but I keep getting mistaken for these silly statues around here." Samantha's mind raced as she tried to comprehend what was happening. An alien, a real live alien, was standing in front of her, talking to her like it was the most normal thing in the world. Part of her wanted to run, but another part was too fascinated to move. After all, this was the kind of thing that only happened in movies, or so she had thought. How did you end up here?" Samantha finally managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. Zog shrugged, a surprisingly human gesture. "Well, I'm an explorer, you see. I travel from planet to planet, checking out different civilizations, learning about their cultures, that sort of thing. But on this trip, my ship malfunctioned as soon as I landed. It needs a few special parts, but I can't find them in any of your repair shops here." Despite the absurdity of the situation, Samantha couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for Zog. He seemed genuinely frustrated, and the idea of an alien being stranded on Earth because of a mechanical failure was both sad and, in a strange way, relatable. "So, you've been stuck here all this time?" Samantha asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. "Pretty much," Zog replied with a sigh. "I've been blending in with the other statues to avoid drawing attention. The locals are so used to seeing me here that they don't even realize I'm not part of the exhibit." Samantha couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Here was an alien, stranded on Earth, hiding in plain sight among the park's decorations. It sounded like something straight out of a comedy movie. But as ridiculous as it seemed, Samantha knew that Zog was telling the truth. There was something in his voice, a sincerity that made her believe him. "What do you need to fix your ship?" she asked, deciding that if she was already this deep into an alien encounter, she might as well go all the way. Zog brightened at her question, his large eyes lighting up with hope. "Well, I need a super bright LED light bulb to replace a burnt-out component." And something that can keep my ship's coolant system working, like a mini fridge maybe. Samantha blinked in surprise. A light bulb and a mini fridge? That's all you need? Pretty much, Zog replied, nodding enthusiastically. With those, I should be able to get my ship running again and head back home. It seemed almost too simple. Samantha had expected Zog to list off a series of complex otherworldly devices that she'd have no hope of finding on Earth. But instead, all he needed were items she could pick up at the nearest hardware store. It was bizarre, but in a way, it made sense. After all, who was she to question alien technology? Well then, Samantha said, a determined smile spreading across her face, let's go get what you need. Zog looked at her in surprise. You'd really help me? Of course, Samantha replied. How often do you get the chance to help an alien fix his spaceship? Besides, it sounds like fun. Zog grinned, his sharp teeth gleaming in the park's lights. You're all right, Samantha. Let's get going. And so, the unlikely duo set off on their quest to find the necessary parts. Their first stop was a large supermarket on the edge of town, one that Samantha knew carried all sorts of electronics and household items. As they entered the brightly lit store, Zog's eyes grew wide with wonder. He had never seen anything like it. Aisles upon aisles of products, from food to electronics to clothes. It was like a treasure trove of human civilization, all packed into one place. Earth is truly a fascinating place, Zog exclaimed as they walked through the store. So many things, and they're all so shiny. Samantha couldn't help but laugh at his enthusiasm. Yeah, we humans do love our shiny things, she said, leading him toward the electronics section. They quickly found the LED light bulbs, and after some deliberation, Zog selected the brightest one they could find. Samantha paid for it at the self-checkout, feeling a bit like she was living in some sort of bizarre dream. But the light bulb was only half of what they needed. Next, they headed to an electronics store across the street to find the mini fridge. As they entered the store, Zog was once again struck by the sheer variety of human technology. He marveled at the rows of televisions, each one displaying vibrant images that seemed almost lifelike. He was particularly taken with the smartphones, which to him seemed like tiny magical devices capable of anything. I had no idea Earth was so advanced, Zog said as he examined a sleek black phone. These would be considered top-tier technology on Blip-Blop. Samantha chuckled. Well, they're pretty common here. Almost everyone has one. Zog shook his head in disbelief. Your species is more impressive than I thought. After browsing the store for a while, they finally found a small, portable mini fridge that seemed like it would do the trick. Zog was delighted, and Samantha couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. They had managed to find everything Zog needed, and now it was time to put their plan into action. With their purchases in hand, they headed back to the amusement park. The sun had begun to set, casting a warm golden glow over the park's attractions. As they walked, Zog seemed to grow more nervous, his usual confidence wavering slightly. Are you sure this will work? Samantha asked, noticing his change in demeanor. Zog nodded, though he didn't look entirely convinced. It should, but if it doesn't, well, I'll just be stuck here a little longer. Samantha frowned, not liking the sound of that. She had grown fond of Zog during their short time together, and the thought of him being stranded on Earth indefinitely made her feel uneasy. She hoped for his sake that their efforts would pay off. When they reached the spot where Zog's ship was hidden, Samantha was surprised to find that it was cleverly disguised as a large rock in the middle of the park. If she hadn't known better, she would have walked right past it without a second thought. Zog quickly went to work, installing the new light bulb and setting up the mini fridge in the ship's engine compartment. Samantha watched in fascination as he worked, his hands moving with a precision that spoke of years of experience. After what felt like an eternity, Zog stepped back, wiping his brow. All done, he said, his voice filled with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Now, let's see if this baby can fly. He climbed into the ship, motioning for Samantha to step back. With a few beeps and whirs, the ship's engines roared to life. A bright light emitted from the ship's core, illuminating the surrounding area, and cold air began blowing from the mini fridge, cooling the ship's systems. Samantha held her breath, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And then, to her amazement, the ship began to rise off the ground, slowly at first, but then with increasing speed. Zog let out a triumphant laugh as the ship hovered above the ground, its engines humming smoothly. It worked. You actually fixed it, Samantha exclaimed, her heart racing with excitement. Of course, Zog replied, grinning from ear to ear. Now, Samantha, you've been a great help. How about a little ride as a thank you? Samantha's eyes widened in surprise. A ride in an alien spaceship? It was the kind of offer that most people would never get in their lifetime. Without hesitating, she climbed into the ship beside Zog, her excitement growing with each passing second. The ship lifted off the ground smoothly, rising above the park and into the sky. As they flew over the city, Zog pointed out different landmarks, explaining how they looked from space. Samantha couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. She, an ordinary girl, was flying in a spaceship with an alien she had just met in an amusement park. As they soared higher, Zog began doing loop-the-loops and barrel rolls, clearly enjoying himself. Samantha's laughter filled the small cabin as they twisted and turned through the clouds. The joyride continued until they reached the edge of space, where the view was nothing short of breathtaking. Samantha gazed out at the curvature of the Earth, the stars twinkling in the infinite blackness of space. You know, I never thought I'd be here, doing this, Samantha said, her voice filled with awe. Life's full of surprises, Zog replied, his tone unexpectedly serious. Sometimes the best adventures happen when you least expect them. They spent a few more minutes floating in space before Zog began the descent back to Earth. The ship re-entered the atmosphere smoothly, and within minutes they were back at the amusement park. Zog landed the ship gently in its original spot, where it once again assumed the appearance of an inconspicuous rock. Samantha stepped out of the ship, her heart still racing from the excitement. That was incredible! Thank you, Zog. Zog smiled, his large eyes twinkling. No thank you, Samantha. I couldn't have done it without you. With that, Zog began to prepare his ship for the long journey back to Blip-Blop. But before he left, he handed Samantha a small, round device. This is a communicator. If you ever need me, just press this button and I'll be here faster than you can say blip-blop. Samantha accepted the gift, feeling a little sad to see her new friend go. Safe travels, Zog. Don't forget to bring some more candies the next time you visit Earth. Zog laughed, his voice echoing in the air as he climbed back into his ship. I promise. See you around, Samantha. With a final wave, Zog's ship rose into the air and shot off into the sky, disappearing into the distance. Samantha stood there for a moment, holding the communicator, a smile spreading across her face. She knew this was one story no one would ever believe, but that was okay. She had made a friend in the most unexpected of places, and that was all that mattered. As she walked out of the amusement park, Samantha couldn't help but laugh to herself. It had started as just another day, but it had turned into the adventure of a lifetime, an adventure she would never forget. Over the next few days, Samantha couldn't stop thinking about her encounter with Zog. She replayed the events in her mind, from their first meeting to the exhilarating ride through space. It felt like a dream, but the small communicator in her pocket was proof that it had all been real. She wondered if Zog had made it back to Blip-Blop safely, and if he was sharing his earthly experiences with his fellow aliens. One evening, while she was relaxing at home, Samantha decided to test the communicator. She held the small device in her hand, her thumb hovering over the button. She felt a bit silly, like she was about to play a prank on herself. But the curiosity was too strong to resist. She pressed the button and waited. Nothing happened at first. Samantha sighed, feeling a bit foolish. But then, just as she was about to put the device away, it emitted a soft, pulsing light. Startled, she watched as the light grew brighter, filling the room with a warm glow. Then, to her amazement, a small holographic image of Zog appeared above the device. Samantha, it's great to hear from you. Zog's voice echoed through the room, sounding just as cheerful as she remembered. Samantha stared at the hologram in disbelief. Zog? Is that really you? In the virtual flesh, Zog replied, his holographic image grinning broadly. I made it back to Blip-Blop without a hitch thanks to you. How's everything on Earth? Samantha smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. Everything's fine here. I just wanted to see if this thing actually worked. Of course it works. We Blip-Blopians know a thing or two about technology, Zog said with a wink. So, any exciting adventures on your end? Not quite as exciting as riding around in a spaceship with an alien, Samantha admitted. But life's been good. I do miss our little adventure, though. Well, who says it has to be our last? Zog said, his voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. "I've been thinking about coming back to Earth for another visit. Maybe we could go on another adventure, find some more of those delicious candies, and see what else your planet has to offer." Samantha's heart skipped a beat. "You really mean it?" "Absolutely. There's so much more I want to explore, and I'd love to have my favorite Earthling by my side," Zog replied. Samantha couldn't believe what she was hearing. The idea of another adventure with Zog filled her with excitement and anticipation. "I'd love that, Zog. Just let me know when you're coming, and I'll be ready." "You got it, Samantha. I'll be in touch," Zog said with a grin. "Until then, take care of yourself and don't eat too many candies without me." Samantha laughed. "I'll save some for when you get here. Take care, Zog." With a final wave, Zog's holographic image faded, and the communicator returned to its original state. Samantha sat back, a smile on her face as she imagined what their next adventure might be like. She knew that with Zog around, life was bound to be anything but ordinary. And so, Samantha waited for the day when her alien friend would return, eager to embark on another journey that would take her to the stars and beyond. She knew that whatever lay ahead, it would be an adventure worth remembering, one filled with laughter, excitement, and the kind of friendship that transcended galaxies.